There's one Elvis Presley film that breaks my heart, and not because it's bad, so don't think that's where I'm going with this. It's because it's proof of what he could have been. In 1960, Elvis got a really wonderful dramatic role that he could actually sink his teeth into. Critics praised him, a legendary director praised him, and for a moment it looked like Hollywood might actually start taking him seriously as an actor, which is what he wanted so much. And then it all disappeared like the flaming star of death. The film was Flaming Star. And the opening credits tell you almost everything you need to know. Right there on the screen, technical advisor, Colonel Tom Parker. And when I saw that, yeah. Because here's the thing about Colonel Parker in my research and loving, newly discovered passion for Elvis Presley. Here's the thing I've discovered about Colonel Parker, and tell me if you agree or disagree. Every time Elvis got close to something genuinely great, something that genuinely pushed him, Colonel Parker was right there making sure he didn't go too far outside of the box that Colonel Parker had built for Elvis. And Flaming Star, this quiet, brutal, beautiful Western from 1960, might be the clearest proof we have of exactly what Elvis Presley could have been as an actor if the people around him had simply just gotten out of the way. Now, I'll be upfront with you, Westerns aren't really my thing, and quickly before I get into that, hi, my name is Cassidy Krieger from Hollywoodland Photos. If you love everything classic Hollywood and pop culture from the last century, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can get all the latest videos and updates from me. I'd be so appreciative. Thank you so much. Back to it, because Westerns aren't really my thing. My grandfather's watching from heaven, no doubt shaking his head. I never got to meet him, but my mum always told me that he was a big Western man, so I'm sorry, Grumpy. So I came to this film because of Elvis, not because of the genre. But what Elvis does in this movie, it stopped me cold, and I think it should stop you too, because it's genuinely wonderful as an actor. But to understand why Flaming Star matters, you have to understand where Elvis Presley was when he made it. So it's 1960, he's just come home from 2 years in the army, and those 2 years had almost taken everything from him. His momentum, his cultural dominance, and of course, his freedom. A whole new wave of music was beginning to emerge, and Elvis was no longer the untouchable force he'd been in 1956. And then there was his mother. Gladys Presley had died in August 1958 while Elvis was stationed at Fort Hood in Texas. He had to bury his mother, return to base, and then ship out to Germany. And he carried all of that with him. He was only 23 years old. I mean, to do that at any age would be horrifically hard, but at 23 when you're so young, horrific. He was by all accounts devastated. He was very, very close to his mother. He threw himself onto her coffin and had to be physically restrained. He later said everything he'd ever done had been for her. Then he had to get on a plane and return to Germany and continue serving his country. That must have been so traumatic, I can't even begin to imagine it. So when Elvis returned home and was handed the script for Flaming Star, he wasn't the same young man who had left America. That script that he was handed was actually originally written for Marlon Brando. And when the studio decided to cast Elvis Presley instead, the director Don Siegel reportedly asked the producer, why Presley? Why not Brando? And the producer's response was brilliant. It was certainly, he's no Brando. On the other hand, Brando is no Presley. And Flaming Star is a film that proves exactly what he meant by that. So let's talk about the role, because it's such a fascinating role for any actor to sink their teeth into. So Elvis plays Pacer Burton, a half Kiowa, half white young man caught between two worlds that are heading quite quickly towards conflict. He belongs fully to neither of these worlds, but he is loved fully by both of his parents and trusted by nobody else. And as the violence escalates around him, he watches everything he loves begin to disappear. Before I go further, I feel it's really important that I name something. This film is fundamentally about racial prejudice, about a man rejected by white society because of his heritage. And yet the Kiowa characters, including Elvis Presley's own mother in the film, are played by non-native actors. The film is trying to say something genuinely important about racism and belonging, while doing a version of the same thing in its own casting decisions. And I think you can hold both of those things at once, appreciate what the film is doing and be honest about where it fell short, because what it was doing still very much matters. The role that Elvis plays is built around guilt, loss, displacement, and identity. And whether he was consciously drawing from his own experiences or not, you can feel something really genuine underneath his performance, because this Elvis at this point understood grief. He understood feeling torn between different versions of himself, and he understood losing the person who meant the most to him. There's a heaviness in Flaming Star that feels completely different from the Elvis that we've seen in many of his other films. The smile is mostly gone, the movie star charm, the Elvis Presley charm is dulled back. Pacer Burton carries sadness everywhere he goes, and Elvis completely commits to it. His co-star Barbara Eden, who you might know better as Jeannie from I Dream of Jeannie, said it plainly in an interview with People magazine. "I remember how good he was. He was a fine actor. This was a part that required good acting, and he did it." The critics noticed too. The Louisville Courier-Journal wrote that Presley gives every indication of being able to interpret a character honestly. He plays with commendable restraint. And it wasn't just critics at the time. I mean, legendary director Quentin Tarantino wrote on his own website that Flaming Star was a truly great Western and maybe the most brutally violent American Western of its era. And that's high praise coming from Quentin Tarantino. So Flaming Star was released in December 1960. Just 1 month earlier, another Elvis film had hit theatres, GI Blues, which was a light musical comedy, which is what Colonel Parker wanted Elvis to do, what the studios wanted Elvis to do. It was safe entertainment, exactly the formula that Elvis would later become known for. But he hated it. And by multiple accounts, he was deeply unhappy making GI Blues. He knew what he was capable of. He knew Flaming Star was the real thing. He knew that Flaming Star was what he could do. But the world, the movie-going public, the people that had paid the money, disagreed. Because GI Blues earned almost $10 million, which back in 1960 was quite a lot of money for a film to make. And Flaming Star earned less than half of that. And in many ways, that's where this story of Elvis the actor ends. Because Hollywood looked at the two versions of Elvis, the artist and the product, and it chose the product. And that's not because Flaming Star failed creatively, but because the other version of Elvis made the money. And that's the thing, that show business is still and always will be a business. Art will always come second, business always comes first in show business. And the artists, the creatives, they're just the vehicles. They don't really matter that much. The critics love Flaming Star. Elvis loved Flaming Star. Don Siegel loved what Elvis achieved in Flaming Star. But none of that mattered as much as the box office to producers that put money in. And so that window closed. And for the most part, the next decade became an endless cycle of increasingly disposable musical comedies and one of the most fascinating acting careers that never happened. I said at the beginning of this that Westerns aren't really my thing. And I mean it, I do. Although I do really enjoy Seven Brides of Seven Brothers, I don't think that's a Western. And I love High Noon. I love High Noon, but I think Gary Cooper in High Noon is just a Hollywood staple. Everyone has to see it. But I also meant it when I said that when I was watching this film, it made me forget that it was a Western. Like good Westerns maybe do. Maybe that's why I love High Noon so much. Because what makes Flaming Star so special isn't the genre. It's the possibility. It's seeing what Elvis Presley could have become as an actor and as an artist if he'd been encouraged to grow instead of repeat himself. The tragedy of Elvis Presley's film career isn't that he's a bad actor. And anyone that tells me he's a bad actor, I fight them. The tragedy is that he was genuinely a talented, good actor who the industry decided was more valuable as a product than an artist. And I can relate that to one of my other favourite stars of all time, Marilyn Monroe, who fought so hard to be seen beyond what the studios, what the public had labelled her as. It's just these two icons that were just labelled and stuck. Flaming Star is one of the films that proves it, that he was a genuinely talented actor. And Colonel Parker's name is sitting right there in the opening credits. Technical advisor, just in case you need a reminding of exactly who helped close that door of an incredible acting career. And honestly, I think that's what makes Flaming Star so moving. Not just because of the film, not because of what Elvis achieved in the film, but what the film hints at. The extraordinary actor he might have become if Hollywood had been brave enough to just let him.